Hello guys. So again in this tutorial we are going to continue our configuration part, and only a small part is remaining. So first we'll finish that, then we will learn about some nuances and a little bit about how actually the JIT repositories work, a little bit about that. And after that we will start working on the hands-on process. We will make a demo project and we will learn all the JIT commands that are there that we normally use. The commands that we use 90% of the time or 95% of the time. So in the last tutorial we had completed till here. We had given ourselves some username. So in this tutorial we are going to set ourselves a name, so that whenever you commit or you do any activity on JIT, it shows other people that who did that with that name. So for doing that you will have to run this command, git config -global user dot name, first name last name. So after that, whenever you will do any change, so it will show like the first name last name did these changes, or if somebody is visiting the logs, so he will see actually that a person with this name and this email ID made the changes. There are commands in JIT. So this way this is useful. So you have to run these commands and you have to give your email ID and the first name last name that you really want other people to see whenever you make changes. These things are important when your project is like public or you are collaborating with other people, so that other people, they know that who made the changes. Everybody knows that. So this is necessary. So you will have to just write down these commands and things will be fine. And after that there is this last state. So GitHub token. When you have to do this, just go to account settings, account admin, there will be an API token. You have to copy that and then you have to paste it here. So and then yeah, things will be done. So these are like the formalities. So if you have done all the previous steps, so you have to just run these 4 commands, and your API token, it's written here in the account admin in account settings section. So things will be done. So I'm not going to spend more time on that. So now we will move into the funda of JIT or Git, I don't know how to pronounce that, and then how do repositories work. So here you can see that I have 5 repositories, and these repositories are actually online repositories. They are here on github.com, and if I click on that, then I can see like what are the folders that I have created, what are the files here. So you can see all these things here, and you can see here my name, and I have authored this. Because I have created all these files and folders, so I'm the author. I'm not committing the code. If I had made some changes, then I would have committed the changes, but authored means you are creating when you are author of something. So these are like online repositories. So first of all we will answer the question, why is JIT necessary. So it's actually because we want to make versions. If we have any file and several people are making changes, or one person is making changes, so through versions he will be able to know that the life cycle of the file, how the chronology of the changes that you have done in that file or in that folder or in that directory. So it becomes important when you have to compare the changes, like what was the code like 1 month ago and what the code is like today. You can compare. Sometimes today you have you have lost some code, and because of that your code is not working, so you would like to look back at the previous versions, and also you would like to revert to those code. So that way versioning is important. So whenever you create a file, whenever you make a change in a file, so you are actually creating a new version of the file. When you create a file, that is like the first version. When you make any changes, a new version gets created. Another change, a new version will get created. So this way you are actually versioning the file if you are making changes in that file. So this is called versioning. And for versioning there are many I mean, it's becoming boring because I'm just giving lecture, but there is actually nothing to show here, so that's why I'm talking. And these things are important to understand the JIT. And there was subversion, and then there was JIT. And being very technical, I'll tell the difference between subversion and JIT. So the way subversion was working was that it was actually keeping the changes that you have done. So it's like you created 5 files, so that will be version 1. And after that you changed in the first file, some lines have code, some files in some lines of code changes in third file. So next version, subversion will store those changes. So this way, I mean, they store the changes, so this way you will have the version. So if you are going, if you have to go back into some version, so those changes will be reverted. This was the way subversion works. And the way JIT works is that it actually has the snapshot of each version. I mean, it knows how does the file look like. It doesn't work on the changes, it actually has all the files. Okay, this file looked like that. So it's not like that for every version it is making a copy of all the files. It will have only those files where there are real changes. Otherwise it will say, okay, I mean, if there is no change in any file, so JIT is not going to copy that in the new version. For that file it will say, okay, it looks like the previous one. So it is making a copy of only those files in any version which gets changed from the previous version. But it will always know that how do all the files look like in a particular version. In case of subversion, it will only know what are the things that have changed in that version, but it doesn't know actually how does that file look like. But JIT knows for each version how does every file look like. So I think I'm not clear enough, but you guys can understand. It's about changing and it's about knowing the state. JIT goes through the state funda and subversion goes through the changes funda. Okay, so yeah, so one more example here. It's like, suppose you have a file and you have entered 1. So the first version, JIT and subversion both will store that file. Okay, 1 is written. But if you comes and you add another 1, so subversion will store the new one that you have added. Okay, that is the change. So second version of subversion doesn't know how do the file look like. The subversion only stores that change, that particular change that you have added 1. But JIT will store the state. It will say, okay, there are 2 ones in that file. So that is the way JIT knows the state. What is the current state of that file in that version? But subversion, it only stores the change. So that was all. I'm not going to talk more about versions here. So actually, basically, I want to talk about the repositories. So how do actually repositories work in JIT? So you can see here that there are several online repositories here, and then you have a project on in your local system. Okay, so if you make any changes in your project, then does those changes go to this online repository directly? No, there is an intermediate repository, that is your local repository, and your local repository is nearly all the time a replica of the online repository. Okay.